Ladies and gentlemen, when someone chooses silence over communication, their absence can speak volumes more than words ever could. Silence is a powerful communicator, often revealing truths about priorities, emotions, and intentions. It's natural to wonder why someone doesn't call or message you for a long time, especially when you've invested emotional energy in them. But understanding the layers of meaning behind this silence can help you navigate your emotions and guide your response. Silence might reflect a shift in priorities. People often communicate most actively when they are interested or invested in a relationship. If their contact fades, it can signal that their priorities have changed. This shift doesn't necessarily mean you're less important. It could indicate other areas of their life demanding their attention. Work stress, personal challenges, or even internal conflicts might create barriers to regular communication. Instead of taking this silence personally, it's worth reflecting on the bigger picture. Are they pulling back because of external circumstances, or is this a sign of emotional withdrawal? Another explanation could be that silence serves as a tool for emotional distancing. Some individuals are not comfortable articulating their feelings, especially when they involve uncertainty or conflict. By not calling or messaging, they create a gap that they hope will resolve itself without confrontation. While this can be frustrating for you, understanding that this silence may be rooted in their discomfort rather than a reflection of your worth can help you process it without unnecessary self-doubt. For others, silence might be a test of boundaries. It can be an unconscious or conscious way to gauge your reaction. Will you reach out first, showing that you're more invested? Will you wait, demonstrating patience and independence? This dynamic can become a subtle power play in relationships, with silence being used as a strategy to maintain control or test the other person's commitment. However, the most important takeaway is that silence should encourage you to focus inward rather than outward. Instead of dissecting why someone hasn't contacted you, ask yourself how you feel about the situation. Are you comfortable with one-sided effort in relationships? Do you feel respected and valued? Their silence is an opportunity for you to reflect on your boundaries and standards. A healthy relationship involves mutual effort, communication, and respect. If those elements are missing, their silence might be a blessing in disguise, saving you from further emotional investment in an unbalanced dynamic. It's also essential to recognize that silence can be an indicator of emotional immaturity or poor communication skills. Someone unwilling to discuss feelings or maintain consistent contact might lack the tools necessary for a healthy relationship. This silence becomes a learning experience for you to identify what you truly deserve. Communication is a cornerstone of any meaningful connection, and if it's absent, it may not be a connection worth holding on to. When someone doesn't call or message you for an extended period, it's crucial to resist the urge to overthink. The human brain has a tendency to fill in blanks with assumptions, many of which may not be accurate. Overanalyzing their silence can lead to unnecessary anxiety, self-doubt, and frustration. Instead of allowing their lack of contact to dominate your thoughts, focus on actions that bring you joy, fulfillment, and peace. The best way to handle silence is by thriving in your own life. Pursue your goals, nurture your relationships with others, and focus on personal growth. Their silence might also be a lesson in detachment. It teaches you not to depend on external validation. Let their silence inspire you to seek connections with those who value your presence and effort. In conclusion, silence is never just silence. It's a communication tool that can reveal priorities, emotions, and intentions. Instead of focusing on what their silence means for them, focus on what it teaches you about yourself. Embrace it as an opportunity for self-growth, reflection, and empowerment. Let it guide you toward relationships that align with your worth and help you cultivate a life where your happiness isn't dependent on anyone else's actions. When someone doesn't call or message for a long time, it often serves as a reminder of the need to establish and maintain boundaries in your relationships. Boundaries are essential for protecting your emotional well-being, defining your expectations, and ensuring you're treated with respect. The silence of others, while painful, can often illuminate areas where you may need to set clearer limits and prioritize your own needs. The absence of communication can feel like rejection, especially when you've invested time and energy into a relationship. However, this lack of contact isn't always about you. Often it reflects the other person's priorities, capacity, or choices. Recognizing this truth is the first step in setting boundaries because it shifts the focus from their behavior to your response. You have no control over whether someone chooses to communicate, but you do have control over how you react and what you're willing to tolerate. Boundaries aren't about punishing others for their silence, but about defining what you find acceptable and taking action to uphold your standards. For example, if you value consistent communication, it's important to recognize when someone's lack of contact falls short of that expectation. Rather than chasing after their attention or questioning your worth, use this as an opportunity to affirm your needs. Let yourself acknowledge that you deserve reciprocal effort in any relationship. One of the challenges of setting boundaries in the face of silence is resisting the urge to overextend yourself. It's natural to want to reach out, fill the gap, and fix the perceived disconnection. However, doing so without considering whether it aligns with your values can lead to one-sided relationships. Boundaries require you to pause and reflect before acting. Ask yourself, am I reaching out because I genuinely want to? Or am I doing it out of fear, obligation, or the hope of eliciting a specific response? Healthy boundaries mean allowing others the space to show their intentions through their actions or lack thereof. Another critical aspect of boundaries is learning when to let go. Silence can be a form of emotional neglect, and holding on to someone who consistently fails to meet your needs can lead to feelings of resentment, frustration, and inadequacy. While it's okay to give someone the benefit of the doubt, occasionally, repeated patterns of neglect require you to reevaluate the relationship. Letting go doesn't mean you harbor anger or bitterness. It means choosing your peace and mental health over chasing someone who isn't showing up for you. Establishing boundaries also involves self-reflection. Consider whether you've communicated your expectations clearly in the relationship. Sometimes silence results from misunderstandings or differing communication styles. Have you expressed what you need, or have you assumed they should already know? Effective boundaries are built on clarity, which requires open and honest dialogue. If their silence continues despite your efforts to communicate, it's a strong indicator that they may not be capable of meeting your needs. When you set boundaries, it's important to stay firm in enforcing them. This doesn't mean being rigid or unkind, it means honoring your self-worth. For instance, if you've decided that you won't keep reaching out to someone who hasn't responded in weeks, follow through on that decision. Breaking your own boundaries by making exceptions for someone repeatedly can send a message that you're willing to tolerate neglect, even if that's not your intention. Silence also highlights the need for boundaries in how you spend your emotional energy. Dwelling on why someone hasn't contacted you can drain your mental resources and shift your focus away from things that matter most. A boundary here might mean deciding how much time you allow yourself to think about the situation. It could involve setting a limit, such as, I'll reflect on this for 15 minutes and then move on to something productive. Redirecting your energy toward activities that bring you joy and fulfillment helps protect your emotional well-being. Another key boundary is recognizing when to stop making excuses for someone else's behavior. It's easy to rationalize silence by attributing it to busyness, stress, or external circumstances. While these factors may be valid occasionally, consistently excusing someone's lack of effort prevents you from seeing the situation clearly. Boundaries require you to hold people accountable for their actions or inactions, while also holding yourself accountable for how much you allow them to affect your life. In building boundaries, remember that self-respect is at the core. You deserve to be treated with consideration and care in every relationship, whether it's with a friend, romantic partner, or family member. When someone's silence persists, it's not a reflection of your worth, but a signal to realign your focus and protect your heart. Healthy boundaries aren't about pushing people away, they're about making space for connections that uplift, support, and reciprocate your energy. Lastly, boundaries allow you to grow from experiences of silence rather than be diminished by them. Each time you set and enforce a boundary, you're sending yourself a powerful message: you are deserving of respect and will no longer settle for less. Over time, these practices strengthen your confidence, self-awareness, and resilience, ensuring that future relationships are built on mutual care and understanding. In summary, silence offers an opportunity to reevaluate your boundaries and affirm your self-worth. Instead of chasing someone who's absent, focus on the standards you want to uphold in your relationships and the actions needed to protect your emotional health. By setting boundaries, you're not only safeguarding yourself, but also creating a foundation for more fulfilling and balanced connections in the future. When someone doesn't call or message you for a long time, it often creates an uncomfortable space filled with questions, doubts, and even feelings of rejection. In this silence, there's an important opportunity to focus on yourself. Too often, people direct their energy outward, trying to understand the other person's actions or inactions, when the silence is a signal to look inward. Focusing on yourself during this time doesn't mean ignoring your emotions or pretending the absence doesn't affect you. It means channeling your energy into self-care, personal growth, and rediscovering your own worth. This process starts with acknowledging how the silence makes you feel. Ignoring or suppressing your emotions can lead to resentment, frustration, or even self-doubt. Instead, allow yourself to fully experience your feelings, whether it's sadness, anger, or confusion. Journaling can be an excellent way to process these emotions. Writing down how you feel not only helps you express your thoughts, but also gives you a clearer perspective on the situation. Through reflection, you can identify any patterns in your relationships, such as whether you're always the one putting in more effort, or if you tend to overextend yourself to keep people in your life. Once you've acknowledged your emotions, the next step is to shift your focus to your own well-being. This can be as simple as engaging in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Whether it's exercising, picking up a hobby, spending time with supportive friends and family, or exploring a new interest, these actions remind you of your value beyond the relationship in question. The goal isn't to distract yourself from the silence, but to use this time as an opportunity to reconnect with the things that make you feel whole. Personal growth also plays a significant role when focusing on yourself. Use this time to invest in your skills, passions, and aspirations. Consider taking a course, reading books that inspire you, or setting goals for your future. By redirecting your energy towards self-improvement, you're actively reinforcing your sense of independence and self-worth. When you pour energy into becoming the best version of yourself, you not only feel more empowered, but also attract relationships that align with your growth. Silence can also be a valuable time to assess the dynamics of your relationships. Ask yourself whether the other person's absence is consistent with the effort they've shown in the past. If this isn't the first time they've been distant, it may be a pattern worth addressing. Reflect on whether the relationship truly serves your well-being or if it leaves you feeling undervalued. This period of self-reflection can reveal whether you've been holding on to something out of habit, fear, or misplaced loyalty. Another aspect of focusing on yourself is redefining your boundaries. During moments of silence, it's easy to fall into the trap of overanalyzing or overcompensating by reaching out repeatedly. Instead, consider what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. Are you okay with inconsistent communication? Are you willing to be the one always initiating contact? Use this time to set clear standards for how you want to be treated and commit to upholding those boundaries moving forward. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean cutting people off or holding grudges. It means learning to prioritize your needs and well-being, even in the absence of others. Forgiveness, whether for the other person or yourself, can be a liberating part of this journey. Letting go of resentment allows you to move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional baggage. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing someone's behavior, it means releasing the hold it has on you. As you turn inward, it's also an opportunity to practice self-compassion. Silence from others can sometimes trigger feelings of inadequacy or self-blame. Remind yourself that someone else's lack of communication is not a reflection of your worth. Treat yourself with kindness, just as you would a friend who's experiencing the same situation. Affirmations, meditation, or simply speaking kindly to yourself can make a significant difference in how you perceive the silence. Finally, remember that focusing on yourself is a continuous process, not a one-time effort. It's about building habits and practices that reinforce your independence, resilience, and self-love. Over time, you'll find that the silence of others becomes less impactful because your sense of worth is rooted in who you are, not in external validation. You'll grow more confident in walking away from relationships that don't serve you and embracing ones that do. In conclusion, the silence of others can be a powerful opportunity for self-discovery and growth. By redirecting your energy inward, you're not only protecting your emotional well-being, but also strengthening your sense of identity and independence. This process empowers you to move forward with clarity, purpose, and a deeper understanding of your own value, no matter who chooses to be present or absent in your life. When someone doesn't call or message you for a long time, it's easy to assume the worst. However, their silence often has less to do with you and more to do with their own circumstances, emotions, or priorities. Understanding this can significantly reduce the emotional burden you might carry when interpreting their actions. Silence is rarely about a lack of value or love for you. More often, it reflects the complexities of their own life. By shifting your perspective to recognize this, you can approach the situation with empathy and clarity. The first step in understanding that their silence isn't about you is to resist personalizing it. People navigate their lives with varying levels of emotional and mental capacity. Someone who hasn't reached out might be dealing with stress, anxiety, or other personal issues that make communication difficult for them. Instead of immediately assuming that their silence indicates a lack of interest or care, consider what might be happening in their world. For instance, they might be overwhelmed by work, grappling with personal challenges, or simply feeling the need for solitude. None of these scenarios diminishes your worth or the value of your connection. Taking this perspective doesn't mean excusing all behavior. It's essential to balance empathy with healthy boundaries. If someone's silence has a pattern or consistently leaves you feeling neglected, it's fair to evaluate whether the relationship aligns with your needs. However, an empathetic lens allows you to distinguish between occasional lapses in communication and a lack of respect or effort. This distinction can prevent misunderstandings and preserve relationships that are otherwise healthy and valuable. Another aspect to consider is that people express their feelings and manage their relationships differently. Some individuals are naturally more introverted or find it difficult to maintain consistent communication. This isn't necessarily a reflection of how they feel about you, but rather a part of their personality or coping mechanisms. By recognizing that everyone approaches relationships uniquely, you can create space for their differences without internalizing their actions as a personal slight. It's also helpful to reflect on the broader context of your relationship. Is their silence an isolated incident, or has it happened repeatedly? If it's a one-time occurrence, it's more likely related to external factors rather than a change in their feelings toward you. In this case, showing patience and understanding can strengthen the bond you share. On the other hand, if the silence is part of a recurring pattern, it may be an indication of a deeper issue that requires open communication and resolution. One of the most empowering realizations is that their silence often has nothing to do with your worth. Many times we tie our value to how others treat us, forgetting that their actions are shaped by their own experiences, struggles, and choices. By separating your sense of self from their behavior, you can navigate their silence without internalizing it as a reflection of your value. This mindset shift fosters emotional resilience, allowing you to maintain your self-esteem even in the face of uncertainty. To gain clarity, it can be helpful to open up a dialogue when the time feels right. A calm and non-confrontational conversation can provide insights into their silence. Approach the situation with curiosity rather than accusation. For example, you might say, "I've noticed we haven't been in touch as much lately. Is everything okay on your end?" This not only shows that you care, but also creates a safe space for them to share their perspective. Often, this approach reveals that their silence had little to do with you and everything to do with their circumstances. While understanding their silence is important, it's equally crucial to recognize and address your own feelings. It's natural to feel hurt or confused when someone you care about goes quiet, and those emotions are valid. Acknowledging your feelings without judgment allows you to process them in a healthy way. Instead of suppressing or dismissing your emotions, explore what they're telling you about your needs and expectations in the relationship. Understanding their silence also requires patience. Sometimes people need time to work through their own challenges before they can fully engage with others. This doesn't mean waiting indefinitely or putting your life on hold, but rather allowing them the space to navigate their journey. Patience, paired with self-respect, enables you to support them without sacrificing your own emotional well-being. Finally, viewing their silence through a compassionate lens doesn't mean tolerating mistreatment or neglect. If their silence consistently leaves you feeling undervalued or disrespected, it's important to address those feelings and, if necessary, reevaluate the relationship. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect, communication, and effort. Recognizing that their silence isn't about you is empowering, but it doesn't absolve them of the responsibility to nurture the connection. In conclusion, understanding that their silence often has more to do with them than with you is a liberating perspective. It shifts the focus from self-doubt to empathy, allowing you to approach the situation with clarity and compassion. By separating their actions from your self-worth, maintaining healthy boundaries, and fostering open communication, you can navigate their silence in a way that strengthens your emotional resilience and preserves your inner peace. When someone doesn't call or message for a long time, it can trigger an emotional response, often leaving you wondering where you stand in their life. However, an important perspective to embrace is that their silence may be a reflection of their personal challenges, not a direct commentary on your worth or the quality of your relationship. In this context, taking the time to focus inward on your own growth and well-being can be one of the most empowering actions you can take. Life is filled with situations that feel uncertain, especially in relationships, but it's during these moments that you have the opportunity to turn inward and prioritize yourself. Rather than waiting for someone to fill a void or provide clarity, you can channel that energy into bettering your own life. This isn't about ignoring or suppressing your feelings of confusion or disappointment, rather. It's about recognizing that you are in control of how you respond to any situation, including silence. Focusing on your growth doesn't mean shutting out the relationship or dismissing the connection you have with the person. Instead, it's a way of reclaiming your emotional independence. When you center your attention on personal development, you begin to realize that your happiness and fulfillment are not solely dependent on external relationships. This shift in perspective can be transformative, allowing you to view the situation through a lens of empowerment rather than victimhood. One of the most practical steps in this process is identifying areas of your life where you'd like to grow. Whether it's improving your health, developing new skills, advancing your career, or deepening your spiritual practice, focusing on tangible goals can give you a renewed sense of purpose. When your days are filled with meaningful activities and progress, you're less likely to feel consumed by someone else's lack of communication. Instead of waiting for their call or message, you're creating a life that feels fulfilling and rewarding, independent of their actions. Focusing on your growth also helps you build resilience. Relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or familial, can be unpredictable. Learning to rely on yourself and find strength within ensures that you're better equipped to handle the ups and downs that naturally occur. This doesn't mean closing yourself off from others, but rather developing a strong foundation of self-reliance and self-esteem that supports you no matter what happens externally. Another benefit of prioritizing your growth is that it often creates a natural ripple effect. When you're actively working to improve your life, you radiate a sense of confidence and positivity that others notice. This can lead to stronger connections with the people who value and respect you, and it can even inspire the person who has been silent to re-engage. Growth and self-improvement are magnetic. They draw in people who align with your energy and push away those who are not ready or willing to match it. Taking this path also helps you maintain a sense of dignity in the relationship. Instead of chasing after the person or demanding an explanation for their silence, you're choosing to focus on what you can control: your own actions, thoughts, and growth. This doesn't mean ignoring the relationship entirely, but it does mean respecting yourself enough to not place your life on hold while waiting for someone else's response. This approach fosters self-respect, which is a cornerstone of healthy relationships. Additionally, by focusing inward, you allow yourself the space to gain perspective. When someone is silent, it's easy to jump to conclusions or make assumptions about their intentions. However, when you're centered in your own growth, you're better able to approach the situation with clarity and rationality. Instead of reacting emotionally, you can take a step back and assess the situation objectively. This balanced mindset not only reduces unnecessary stress, but also helps you communicate more effectively when the time comes. Focusing on your growth during periods of silence can also lead to a deeper understanding of what you truly want and need from your relationships. Sometimes their silence might highlight aspects of the relationship that weren't serving you well. In other cases, it might reveal how much you value the connection and provide clarity on what you're willing to invest in maintaining it. Either way, this period of self-reflection can be incredibly enlightening. It's also worth noting that personal growth isn't just about achieving specific goals, it's about cultivating a mindset of continuous improvement and self-compassion. When you approach life with the intention to grow, you're more likely to be patient with yourself and others. This patience can be particularly helpful in navigating challenging moments in relationships, including silence. Ultimately, focusing on your growth shifts the narrative. Instead of viewing their silence as something being done to you, you can see it as an opportunity for introspection and empowerment. While it's natural to care about their actions and feelings, your well-being shouldn't hinge on someone else's communication patterns. By investing in your own growth, you're not only enhancing your own life, but also setting the stage for healthier, more fulfilling relationships in the future. In conclusion, when someone is silent, you have a choice to dwell on their absence or to turn inward and focus on your growth. Choosing the latter is a powerful act of self-love that allows you to thrive regardless of external circumstances. It reminds you of your inherent value and ensures that your happiness is rooted in a source that no one else can take away you. When someone doesn't call or message you for a long time, it can mean they're processing their own struggles, focusing on personal issues, or simply caught up in the demands of their life. This silence often triggers feelings of doubt or rejection, but understanding this dynamic requires you to interpret their actions or lack thereof with clarity and perspective. Instead of making assumptions or letting their behavior negatively affect your self-worth, this is an opportunity to develop emotional independence and strengthen your inner resilience. Relationships are multifaceted, and silence doesn't always indicate negativity or disinterest. Sometimes it reflects the other person's current capacity to engage. Life can become overwhelming, and even the closest relationships might experience moments of disconnection. People face personal challenges, emotional barriers, or circumstances that prevent them from reaching out, and their silence is not always an intentional slight against you. Understanding this broader perspective helps reduce the tendency to internalize the lack of communication as a reflection of your value or importance. Moreover, their silence could be a signal that they need space to reflect. Everyone processes emotions differently, and some people withdraw when they're sorting through personal matters. This withdrawal doesn't necessarily mean the relationship has lost its meaning, but it does highlight the importance of giving others the time and room they might need. Respecting their need for space can foster healthier communication in the long run and prevent unnecessary strain on the relationship. However, silence can also be an unintentional test of your emotional boundaries. When someone doesn't call or message, it's easy to overthink and feel compelled to chase their attention. This reaction, though natural, often reinforces a cycle of dependency that places the other person's actions at the center of your emotional stability. Instead of seeking reassurance from them, take this as a cue to focus on yourself and your emotional needs. Build boundaries that allow you to remain secure and fulfilled, even in the absence of external validation. Their silence also serves as a reminder to evaluate the balance of effort in the relationship. Relationships thrive when both parties invest time and energy into maintaining the connection. If silence becomes a repeated pattern, It may indicate an imbalance that requires addressing. Reflecting on the dynamic allows you to determine whether the relationship is nurturing and reciprocal, or if it's leaning too heavily on your efforts. Healthy relationships thrive on mutual care, and moments of silence can offer valuable insights into whether that balance is being maintained. From another perspective, their lack of communication might hold lessons in detachment. Emotional detachment doesn't mean apathy, it means recognizing that you cannot control another person's actions or decisions. This mindset helps you navigate relationships without becoming overly reliant on external behaviors to dictate your emotional state. Detachment empowers you to let go of the need to chase, persuade, or overextend yourself for validation, creating space for you to focus on your inner well-being. Additionally, their silence provides a powerful opportunity to cultivate self-awareness. Moments of disconnection from others often push us to confront our own emotions and triggers. Do you feel anxious, rejected, or abandoned when they don't reach out? If so, where do these feelings stem from? By examining your emotional responses, you gain valuable insights into your patterns and beliefs. This self-awareness allows you to grow emotionally and approach future relationships with greater clarity and confidence. It's also worth considering that silence can bring hidden strengths to the surface. When someone withdraws, you have the chance to rediscover your ability to rely on yourself for support and fulfillment. This doesn't mean you stop caring or valuing the relationship, but rather that you recognize your capability to find joy, purpose, and stability independently. Strengthening your sense of self not only enhances your resilience, but also makes you a stronger partner or friend in any relationship. Silence can also inspire a reevaluation of what you truly want in relationships. It might make you realize the kind of effort, communication, and understanding you value in your connections. Are you aligned with someone who shares your priorities and communication style? If not, this period of reflection can help you identify the qualities that matter most and guide you toward relationships that better meet your emotional and personal needs. Finally, their silence teaches patience and acceptance. Not everything in life or relationships follows a predictable timeline. Learning to sit with uncertainty without rushing to conclusions or forcing outcomes is a vital skill that can improve all areas of your life. By practicing patience, you demonstrate emotional maturity and respect for both your process and theirs. In conclusion, when someone doesn't call or message for a long time, it offers a chance to grow, reflect, and strengthen your emotional foundation. Their silence doesn't have to be a source of frustration or doubt. Instead, it can be a catalyst for self-discovery, healthier boundaries, and a clearer understanding of your values. Rather than focusing on their absence, focus on what this time can teach you about yourself and your approach to relationships. This shift in perspective not only empowers you, but also